Hey everybody, welcome back and thanks for joining me. This is Permasand Invitational content. We are very deep in the tour and these guys are sitting pretty. This is the winners bracket between Soulwind and Malekith. They have guaranteed themselves, both of these guys, cash money no matter what. This is the winners bracket final and these guys are trying to figure out who's going to have the number one seed, the undefeated spot in the grand final, meaning that player would have to be defeated twice. It is a great position to be in, very advantageous. Let's see who it's going to be. These guys are both Spanish. They've known each other for years, obviously familiar with each other. Maybe that'll make it more interesting. Soulwind, one of the favorites coming into the tour. I mean, he won Classic this year. He's gone deep in Classic a number of times. This is just flat out one of the best old gen players in the world. Absolutely no doubt about it. Malekith, on the other hand, even though he is well respected and a veteran and has been around for a long time, was not even initially invited to this tour. He only got invited because we had a couple last minute drama, substitutes, whatever, and yeah, I mean, he got in through that and has taken full advantage of it, as you can see. He's now here. He's guaranteed himself cash, and hell, I mean, he could even be the only guy in the winners bracket come grand finals if he beats Soulwind here. All right, so like I said, winners bracket, neither guy can be eliminated here. They are just playing to see who gets knocked down to the lower bracket and who gets the grand final luxury seat. This is game one, which is DPP. So Soulwind on the bottom, Malekith on the top, neither one with an alt. And it's going to be Zapdos switching out a Nidoqueen who immediately sets up rocks as Breloom comes in. Taunt comes down from the faster Nidoqueen, preventing Spore, so that's going to obviously be annoying for him. And Soulwind is going to oblige with the attack, go for the Seed Bomb, which is underwhelming. And now Gengar comes in case he switches it up or goes for Seed Bomb again, neither of which occurs. And a lot of switching is going to result in this matchup very briefly. Obviously, Rachi doesn't want to get cooked by the Heatran, but he does manage to get his own rocks up on the way out. Immediate burn from Lava Plume favoring Malekith. The Coon doesn't like that. Here comes Rachi, and by Rachi I mean Lati. Same thing. There is a Rachi though for Soulwind, and he's going to resist the Surf. And now here's the Rachi. See, that's what I meant. I was just one step ahead. I saw it turn into the future. Recover and Heatran, respectively. U-turn is going to get us Starmie that was previously unrevealed. We do know that there is a Ghost on the other side. Should he go for the Rapid Spin? Takes the aggressive route, goes Surf. That gets protected against immediately. And now Scizor comes in. So 5 pokes have been revealed for both guys. Surf with a critical hit here on the Scizor. Maybe not. A follow-up non-crit Surf can kill him. But he's not going to go for it. He's going to go to Zapper. And it is just a roost for the Scizor, which also of note has lefties. Lati reappears. U-turn, meh, 25%, not bad. And the full team now revealed for Soulwind. It is last poke Machamp. Nidoqueen reappears. The hazards are still there for both. Payback comes down 28%. Decent chunk, but switches it up now to the harder hitting Ice Punch. Poison Point, however, is going to activate, putting Machamp on a clock, and it's also going to get hit with counter, so all of a sudden Machamp is really low. And now Starmie has to switch into Earthquake, 35% for its troubles. The only unrevealed in the game still belongs to Malekith. Surf there 30%. Scizor should be fine, and we know that it's got Roost, which it very well may go for here. Zapdos switches in, and it is indeed Roost, the shiny green Scizor, back up to 100%. Heatran comes in on a Roost turn from Zapdos, which is also now back up to 100%. And now we're back to Starmie on a Whiffed Protect from Malekith. Did not take advantage and go for an attack or a switch there. Gengar comes in trying to block Rapid Spin. Does so successfully. Good read from Malekith. Hazards are going to stay. Rachi comes in. And another good play from Malekith. He now gets the Heatran in on the Rachi. Stays one step ahead of it. Starmie comes in. And there's an Earth Power, 33%. So a great sequence there. Multiple good turns in a row for Malekith. Now goes Scizor against the Starmie. Again, just another good read from Malekith. And he's going to catch him with Pursuit for 62% on the way out. That whole sequence there, 4, 5, 6 turns in a row for Malekith, was played really, really well, and you could really see why this guy is here and why he is so good at DPP. Lava Plume there on the Coon. Obviously can't burn it when it's already burnt, but you might as well get a little bit of damage on it, and he does. The Wish kicks in, and the Coon, while still burnt, finds himself at 81%. He's going to Calm Mind up as Lati sneaks in, the burn doing its thing. Interesting that neither player brought the ever so popular Tyranitar here to add the sand. It does make things like the Coon that much bulkier and harder to kill. And the Coon does seem to be a bit of an issue for Malekith. He goes to Lati to deal with it, and he does have Recover. We already saw that. He's going to go for that here and get roared out. Heatran comes in. Coon is pretty healthy right now. Again, the lack of sand is making him that much harder to kill. Again, Roar, and that's going to drag out the Nidoqueen. Yeah, the Coon really seems difficult for Malekith. He's trying to dance around it. He repeatedly goes to Lati to deal with it, but Soulwind has continuously roared him out, and that prompts out the last poke previously unrevealed. We've got ourselves Cloyster here, which is really uncommon to say the least in DPP, but, well, here it is. It's Cloyster. He goes Rapid Spin, he goes Spikes, and that is all that he's going to do. He's going to go down, and that is the first knockout of the game on turn 35. Tries to get the revenge with Shadow Ball, but that doesn't happen. However, because there's no sand, Gengar will survive here, and Shadow Ball this time is going to get the kill. So that's going to leave us in a 5-5, and now Zapdos is going to come in trying to revenge the low Gengar. Malekith not having it, gonna go to the Lati here, discharge whatever, 13%, doesn't care, recover back up to a hundo, discharge again, fishing for the para, and does find it. So good little turn there for Soulwind, might as well get that para. U-turn, and that's gonna get the Rachi in on the Nidoqueen. Of note, the hazards have been there for both players this whole time. My bad. Malekith doesn't have the hazards anymore. I must have missed the Rapid Spin. Or I just don't remember. I worked all day today. Give me a break. Either way, Heatran is going to go for Lava Plume here, and that is going to burn the Zapper. 22%. Roost obviously going to get him up a hell of a lot higher, 72%. But Malekith anticipates that, goes Earth Power, which makes the Zapdos only electric. Therefore, it is super effective. Roost and Earth Power again. That one finds a crit. Malekith makes a good read and gets rewarded with a critical hit. Takes the lead now at 5-4. Make that 5-3. The Heatran a real issue. And there is the concession from Soulwind. Malekith has been money at DPP in this tour. I do not know what his record is, but I feel like I've been casting a lot of his DPP games where he comes out on top. There is a spreadsheet somewhere. I don't have it pulled up right now, but like I said, I don't think Malekith has lost too much in this tier throughout the tour. And I mean, evidently hasn't lost much in any tier throughout the tour to be in this position. He's now one victory away from being in the winner's bracket in the grand finals, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, his DPP in particular has really stood out to me. So that puts Soulwind in the position of needing to beat his country bro, 2 games in a row, one of which is his bread and butter tier Black-White, and the other is ADV. And Soulwind has opted to bring us into ADV for the second game. We'll need to win that and a third game, which would be Black-White. So let's get right back into it. Soulwind is remaining on the bottom, and Malekith is remaining on the top for continuity. A Salamence and a T-Tower respectively. Immediate switch to Gengar. Good thing he did. Brick Break, going to whiff. Possibly a Choice Band Salamence in this instance. Hypnosis coming down for Gar. That could be bad for the T-Tower, especially with this Focus Punch follow-up. Doesn't devastate the Tar, but it still chunks the Bliss pretty good for 42% there. And Gengar, of course, gets out of the way. We're looking at almost certainly a Pursuit Tower from Soulwind, and that's why I came into Gar, and things did not work out. It is another Focus Punch Pokemon for Malekith, so he's got at least 2 of those. This one is going to connect with Coon for a good chunk, 36%. And now Blissey comes in, so they both have a Tower and a Bliss. An offensively slanted TSS, it looks like, for Malekith. He does have the classic TSS structure, but it's interesting that with the Fori, he does not have it paired with Pursuit Tower, unless it happens to be Crunch Pursuit with Focus Punch, which, I mean, does exist. But more than likely, we're looking at a physical Tower paired with the Fori as opposed to the traditional Crunch Pursuit Tower. And Malekith, as you saw, did check for Magneton there. He didn't go for immediate EQ with the Fori, if he even has it. They don't all. But he did get out of the way for that exact reason. However, Soulwind seems to have this very covered. He's going to one of his favorite tried and true archetypes, the Magdoll archetype that I've seen him use many times in tournament play. And this should have a pretty good advantage against the Fori. Now, granted, depending on the Fortress set, if the Fori, for example, had both Earthquake and HP Bug, the Fori can actually terrorize Magdoll big time because the Earthquake's a one-hit KO probably, depending on the EVs, against the Magneton. And then the Claydol can't really do anything exciting to the Fori, but the Stab HP Bug definitely starts to add up over time. So Fori can either just get eaten by the Magneton with HP Fire if he's got that, or if the Fori's got the right set of his own, like I said, Earthquake and HP Bug, it can actually beat both the Mag and the Doll. So this is really interesting. We have the classic strategy versus anti-strategy here. We've got the Spikes-based team against the anti-Spikes team. And right now it's not clear who's going to come out on top. We've got ourselves a 6-6. The teams are, I mean, it looked kind of similar at first with the T-Tower and the Bliss, but now that we see the full rosters on both sides, the teams are actually quite different. There's quite a bit of disparity between these two teams. They have no other pokes in common. Or I lied, they both have a Coon, so they have 3 in common, but nevertheless, these are very different teams. We're looking at a double water TSS, an undisputed-esque team for Malekith, and then a classic Mag Doll here for Soulwind. We've got an Endeavor Pert trying to do its thing here, and Coon is going to try to stall it out. It's going to go for rest, and this should work. Yeah, Malekith from behind a substitute no longer is happy with that matchup and gets out of the way. Going to go Focus Punch, and despite Para, he will connect. Coon, however, is due to wake up on this next turn, and that's going to prompt in the Bliss. And Surf there, just in case T-Tower decides to stay in, but he doesn't, and it's just going to be the 12%. We end up with Bliss on Bliss. We might be in for a grind here. We're still 6-6. I mean, we're only 28 turns in. We're not into like marathon territory by any means yet, but for sure, given the way this plays out with the bulky pokes on both sides, when they both have really reliable checks to the things the other guy is doing, this very well might be a grind. Alright, spikes do go down for Malekith, but remember, there's the Claydol on the other side. And out of the way it goes, we've got Bliss, and Coon is just going to play it aggressive, go for Surf, keep the pressure on the Fori. This is a probable soft-boiled turn for Malekith, and of course, the Claydol comes in at this point. Will he spin? Will there be a Gengar? Does spin, no Gar, and the progress of the spikes are gone. However, there is the opportunity for a crit or a freeze with the Ice Beam. Neither one comes, but he does get him for 42% pre-lefties. So he gets at least a little bit of progress toward chipping away at the other guy. Tyranitar comes in. We see that it's very bulky as far as HP is concerned. The Seismic Toss there, 24%. So we're looking at a T-Tower with max HP. Rock Slide coming down on the Coon. And now Surf as the T-Tower attempts to stay in. And he gets fully paralyzed. That's a bad turn for Malekith. Definitely favorable for Soulwind there. And this is going to prompt yet another switch. Now the Blissey, we know, does not have Wish. Nor can anything else on the team for Malekith. So he's not going to be able to pass a Wish or anything like that to the Tyranitar. The T-Tower does have lefties and can get health back that way, but that damage that he took is going to stay. On this end, other than Thunder Wave, Soulwind can't actually touch the Gengar with this Bliss, but there is the Thunder Wave. I'm surprised that Malekith allows that to happen. He thinks it's worth it to Focus Punch anyway, but unfortunately for him, he's going to be fully paralyzed. Focus Punch now, and it's only 38%. It's really actually unexciting. I mean, you've got to remember, because there's no Ice Beam here, this is going to be a bold Blissey for Soulwind, not a modest one. So he's actually taking these Focus Punches even though it has such high base power, even though she's weak to it, taking the focus punches really well. If it were a modest Bliss, if it were, something along the lines of max defense, max special attack, or something like that, and modest, the focus punches would be doing more. But we're probably looking at max defense and bold, and hell, it may even have some HP investment. I mean, there's no reason for the Blissey to invest in special attack, and there's no reason. I mean, I guess a little reason for the Blissey to go in speed, but I mean, you've got Thunder Wave, so it's obviously not going to be super speed invested if it's speed invested at all. So we're very likely looking at max defense and probably a decent amount of HP investment as well for the Bliss. This is actually the worst case scenario as far as a Focus Punch Gengar is concerned. In most other cases, it would be doing a lot more to most other Blissies, but this particular one really doesn't care that much about the Focus Punches. So back and forth we go, but it feels to me like Soulwind is consistently making progress here, whereas Malekith doesn't really seem to be getting anywhere. I mean, the Coon is definitely dangerous for either player, especially if we get to a point where it's last poke Coon. Can definitely do some work in that scenario, but until we get down to last poke, either one, once it rests, can just force the other one out, roar it out, whatever it may be. So like I said, we might be in for a grind. We are now 55 turns in without a knockout. We're not making zero progress. Like I said, I feel like Soulwind has made forward progress here. He's got some damage on the Tar. He's got para on both the Gengar and the Tyranitar. The Blissey for Malekith, even though it obviously has soft-boiled, is at 37%, so that's potentially in danger as well. So Soulwind, I feel, is ahead right now. I don't think this is a lock by any means. I don't think this game is over by any stretch. But I do think if I had to predict a winner right now, I'd say Soulwind is probably a little bit ahead. But Coon on Coon is so dangerous. And based on that one turn, which is not the be-all, end-all, we could be looking at a speed tie. But based on that one turn where they were both in just now, we saw that Soulwind's Coon got buffeted by the sand first, so that may mean that he's got the faster Coon, and that could be crucial if it gets into a situation. We haven't actually seen Roar from Soulwind's Coon. It might be Roar, it might be Sleep Talk, we don't know. We haven't seen Roar from either one, actually, but if they are both Roar Coons, which we don't know, but if they're both Roar Coons, then the speed really, really matters, and the faster one, again, based on that one turn, could be a tie, but based on that one turn, Soulwind seems to have the faster Coon. We're going to find out here. I mean, they're both asleep, so let's look at the sand. Yep, there's the first Roar, and again, the sand buffeted Soulwind first, so it looks like his Coon is just faster, and that's going to be a real issue for Malekith, not able to use his own Coon to roar out the opposing Coon, unless it's sleeping, of course. But despite all those boosts, and despite controlling the tempo, Soulwind is going to get out of the way. T-Tar asleep for him, and now T-Tar comes in for Malekith. Might as well get some lefties back. Why not? He's been trying to nurse that back up. It is in the green again at 52%. Here's Bliss. There's Surf. Let's see. How we doing on Surfs? Plenty of them. 15 out of 24 still remaining. Here's T-Tar. He's killed the 2 sleep turns here. Probably about to kill a third. I can't imagine what he's worried about from Blissey. There's the Coon switch. There's the Wake. And there's the failed Toxic. Not sure what the goal was there. I guess, Swampert's really the only target, right? I mean, you can't hit the other T-Tar because it's paralyzed. You can't hit Gengar. You don't care about Blissey. You can't hit Fori. And yeah, I guess the goal there, the Coon was sleeping at the time. So I guess the goal there was to solely hit the Swampert. I don't think I love the Toxic play. It like basically only hits one thing that you remotely care about. But he also didn't really lose a lot by doing that either. Didn't accomplish anything, but wasn't the biggest deal in the world. We are definitely getting into grindy territory. We are now 77 turns in, 78 turns in, and counting without a knockout. There is Toxic connecting on the switch to the Coon. And it's a rest. Might speed this one up to fast. Not sure how long this is going to take. I don't think we're looking at 300 turns or anything. But this one does look like it might be taking a minute. Toxic Crunch. Man, I haven't seen this set in a while. Toxic, Toxic Taunt, Crunch Pursuit. This is an old school set. But hey, the taunt does prevent Thunder Wave. The idea is to connect with Toxic and then prevent the recovery move. Obviously, Blissey was not poisoned in that instance, and it'll just switch out. The Cheetah not a huge threat here. The Blissey can take the crunches really comfortably. But there is the taunt anyway, just in case there's a T-Wave or recovery move. He taunts the opposing Tar. He gets met with a Focus Punch. And it does happen through full para, or the possibility of full para, on the opposing Coon. Here's another Focus Punch here. Salamence comes in. Haven't seen him in a while. And he takes the Focus Punch pretty well. Also, 22% with the Resistance and the Intimidate. There's Fori, and there is Brick Break. Like I said, we do believe this is a CB Mence. Brick Break, a decent chunk there. There's Spikes. Finally, an opportunity for something to happen. Rapid Spin and HP Bug. So actually, that would have been a nice opportunity for Magneton to come in if it's HP Fire. But they're both going to get stubborn here. Earthquake and Spikes respectively. Rapid Spin and Hidden Power. They're both going to play this out. Soulwind could sneak in the Magneton at any time. Malekith must be aware of that. Earthquake and Spikes yet again. Malekith not respecting the Magneton. Now it comes in finally. How brilliant would it be if he Earthquakes here? But he's not able to pull the trigger. And finally we will have a knockout. It did have HP Fire all along. And down goes the Fori. Both players very conservative with the Magneton on Fori matchup because they're both afraid of each other with HP Fire and Earthquake respectively. But Soulwind wins out and down goes the Fori. Now granted, Magneton dies as well to the T-Tower, but clearly the advantage with Soulwind at this point. Here comes Gengar trying to block Rapid Spin and will do so successfully, but will it be enough? Can Malekith realistically keep the one layer of spikes that he has established down? And if he can, is it even worth it? What is the cost of doing so? He's sure as hell going to try. A Specs drop comes on the Swampert here. May matter in certain matchups. Hydro Pump connects with Coon. We end up with Coon on Coon. A Sleeping Coon for Malekith. We still have not seen the last move, but obviously it's going to be Surf. There is Rest, and there is Killing a Sleep Turn. So we have two sleeping dogs staring each other down. Because high-level competitive Pokemon is so exciting. There is the Cheetar coming in. It is paralyzed. Going to go Focus Punch. Here's the Doll. And we're going to connect. 29%. Does Gengar come in trying to block Rapid Spin? And if so, does it get met with a Psychic? It is just Rapid Spin and a terrible full para for Malekith, who almost certainly, if he's staying in that situation, is doing so to go for HP Bug, which would have done a lot of damage to the Claydol there. That was a really poor full para for Malekith, and he didn't block the Rapid Spin with the Gengar. Either other scenario, whether you block the spin with the Gar or you don't get fully paralyzed and you get the Claydol with HP Bug, either of those would have been acceptable, but it is the worst case scenario for Malekith. He makes the wrong read, he stays in, goes for Bug, gets punished with a full para, and the Rapid Spin gets off and removes the Spike, which of course Malekith cannot reestablish with the Fori down and out. And there's Hidden Power with the not the crit, just the one-hit KO thanks to the almighty CB Mence. So now it's starting to unravel for Malekith. He could still possibly win with a last poke Coon. It's a very dangerous poke against either team that these guys have, but I think last poke Coon is realistically the only hope for Malekith in this game. Endeavorpert is a threat, but it will not sweep. The Cheetar in its current state, banged up, paralyzed, blah blah, is not going to sweep. And obviously this support-oriented non-CM Bliss is not going to sweep for Malekith either. So if he wants to win this game and knock Soulwind to the lower bracket, because remember, it was a long time ago now since we're on turn 115, but if you recall, Malekith did win game 1, the DPP game. So should Malekith find a way, probably on the back of his Coon, to win this game, he will defeat Soulwind 2-0, and he will be in the winner's bracket in the grand finals. If Soulwind wins this game, which is looking like the more likely scenario, then we will go to a black-white game to determine the winner. And now the Mence is starting to just chug off CB attacks here. Now, he's on a clock because remember, he's banded and the sand is eating away at him here. He can only take so many of these, but at the same time, we know that it's a Wish Bliss from Soulwind, so he can also restore his health in that way. There's another knockout, so we've got ourselves a 5-3. Malekith seems resigned to the fact that he has to go down to last poke Coon in order to have a shot. And right now the Coon is at 66%, is sleeping, and has killed one sleep turn. So we'll see how they both want to set it up. Soulwind is obviously well aware that the only threat that he really has to care about on the other side is the Coon. Yes, Endeavor Perk does more than nothing, but it's not going to beat him. The only thing Soulwind can lose to is the Coon, and he knows it. So we'll see how he sets this up. Soulwind obviously does not want to give Malekith the opportunity to have this under ideal circumstances where he gets the Coon in at 100% and awake and all that good stuff. He wants to beat him a different way and prevent that scenario from ever occurring. Endeavor Pert does its thing, does a lot to the T-Tar, but it goes down. Malekith is ready to give up his bliss. He's ready to go down to last Coon. He sees that as the only way out. Keep in mind, like I said, he's at 2/3 and he's asleep, so the CB Mence on the other side, should it come in at exactly the right time, which would be when the Coon comes in, would be a big threat. But at the same time, Soulwind does not want to get greedy and accidentally get his CB Mence in on a T-Wave or an Ice Beam or what have you. That would not go well for him. And we end up with Coon on Coon, so Malekith can at least kill the sleep turn here and make him not as vulnerable to the CB Mence on the other side. And indeed, Malekith does just kill the sleep turn here, so he's due to wake up at the next opportunity, which is not right now because here comes Bliss, and now we end up with Bliss on Coon. Gonna go ahead and just turn this over to fast, speed this up a little bit because there might be a lot of switching here. Both of them looking for the perfect moment. Neither one wants to set the other one up. Oh yeah, might be a lot of switching and a lot of back and forth here. I'm glad I sped this up. Don't want to put it on hyper fast yet. I certainly will if this continues forever. But they're both just going back and forth, back and forth. Soulwind breaks the pattern, goes T-Tar, but only briefly. And we're back to this. Bliss and Coon, switch, switch, switch. Lots of switching. Lots of switching. And lots of switching. Yeah. Oh boy. We might have to go over to hyperfast, boys. Let's. We're gonna keep at this speed for a little while longer. But did I mention there was a lot of switching? T-Tar comes in again. Once in a while, Soulwind sneaks the T-Tar in, gets some lefties. That's fine and well, but the T-Tar is not a huge X factor here. It does have taunt, so there are some scenarios where I guess that matters, but the T-Tar is not a huge part of the game plan for Soulwind. There's no reason not to get lefties on it. That's a good thing, but I don't think that's the most important poke, obviously, for Soulwind in this situation. The other thing that we haven't talked about all game, because it hasn't come up yet, but it might, is that Soulwind's Claydol might have Explosion. We don't know if it does or doesn't, obviously. If we knew that he had it, he'd be, dead because of Explosion. But he could have that, and that is also a factor, certainly, that Malekith has to keep in mind. If, for example, the Claydol were to explode on the Coon, and then Soulwind were to follow up with the CB Mence, that would be one of the ways that Soulwind could beat the last poke Coon for Malekith. It also could just be a refresh doll. We don't know. We've seen 3 of the moves, but last move boom is very common, if not likely. Very well may be there. It doesn't have to be. It could be refresh, could be ice beam, could be some weird, hidden power, fire, something like that. That's very unlikely with Magneton, but you get the gist. It doesn't have to be boom, but it very well may be. In fact, that might be the most likely thing that it is. Oh boy. Lot of switching, lot of grinding here. We might switch over in a moment to hyper fast. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and speed it up to hyper fast. If anything exciting happens, we'll just go back to normal speed, but we are approaching turn 200 at this point, and the past little bit has been nothing but switching. Not a lot to narrate on my end, just switching, and more switching. T-Tar once in a while sneaks in to say hi and get lefties, but not too much beyond that. It's rough too because neither guy has spikes, so there's just nothing's getting chipped here. Nothing is taking any meaningful residual damage. You can't even like grind the other guy out with the spike and slowly but surely find the light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. Just chugging along here. The T-Tire's gotten itself back up to 45% just by coming in every now and again and getting lefties. We are over the turn 200 mark, 202, 203. Man, I wish there were like a hyper fast function here. This is as fast as it gets in the replay without me simply clicking buttons to skip turns, which I don't want to do because I don't want to miss anything, but right now there is not a whole lot going on. This is a slog. Earthquake happens there. Earthquake happens again. There was an opportunity there. That was a meaningful turn. Earthquake there with a crit or with a better roll could have killed the Bliss, but of course it didn't because Pokemon wants me to narrate 300 turns in. 217 and counting. Ice Beam with a crit. We going somewhere? Aw, Blissey on Blissey. Man, for just a moment thought we were going somewhere. But I should know better. We've got a Wish floating. And more switching. How was your Thanksgiving, everybody? Mine wasn't great, if we're being honest, but I hope yours was. Okay. Wish being received by Salamence. Get them all healthy and stuff again. 67%. Out of surf range. Unboosted surf specifically. From the Coon. And more switching. There we go. There's another Wish being passed. This time to T-Tar. Back up to 92%. Bliss still has a lot of wishes if we want to keep playing this game. She's got 9 of them. Man, stubborn. I don't know what the plan is for Malekith. I mean, he isn't and shouldn't forfeit, but I don't know when he's going to pick his spot or how he sees himself winning here. I guess he's waiting for Soulwind to screw up. I guess he's hoping he can just like randomly catch the Mence with an Ice Beam or whatever and try to come back that way. Maybe he's hoping that he can just catch Soulwind getting impatient and he can clip the Claydol or the Salamence with a Surf or an Ice Beam or whatever and just try to get a knockout that way. But yeah, I mean, beyond that, beyond just waiting for a mistake, beyond hoping that Soulwind gets impatient and screws up, I don't know what the out is for Malekith. He's starting to play aggressively here. He's got a couple Ice Beams in a row. He's a third Ice Beam in a row, fishing for a screw up or a freeze or whatever, but he doesn't find it and he gets out of the way at this point. Let's see, how are we doing on PP for Malekith here? Quite a lot, actually. He still hasn't even shown Surf. But yeah, quite a bit of PP for Malekith. He just, why wouldn't he? He's just been switching. Both pokes have plenty of PP. I mean, if they really want to play this game, I was serious earlier when I said it was going to be long, but it's not going to be 300. But it looks like I was wrong. It looks like almost certainly, unless there's a forfeit or a major screw up here, that we're going to be going over 300. Hell, this has potential at this rate to go not only over 300, but quite a bit over 300. If they're just going to switch back and forth forever, we could be here for a hot minute. Salamence trying to aggro the Coon here. There's a crit. Oh, thank God. Are we done? Are we done? Oh, we're so done. Thank God for critical hits. Greatest mechanic ever. See, I told you it wouldn't go 300. 270 is what this takes. 270 turns. Finally, this damn Salamence goes aggro and finds a crit on the Coon. I am glad I put this on hyper fast. Can you imagine? It was plenty long as it was. Can you imagine if we did that on normal? Pass on that. And man, you know what? It's not even the last game. It sends us to a damn game 3. Stupid Soulwind. Why couldn't he concede to Malekith and just call it good? But nope. 270 turns. He gets him. And we are going to go to a third game, which is the Soulwind Bread and Butter tier of Black and White against Malekith. I'm not going to remind you guys of the stakes. You guys know by now. Let's get to the damn game and we'll switch sides for continuity. Soulwind for the third and final time on the bottom. Malekith on the top. We have a Gliscor and an Alakazam respectively on a Whiffed Protect turn. Scarm and Calm Mind. And Focus Blast going to immediately miss. Not a good turn for Malekith. Brave Bird going to do a lot of damage. Recoil comes down. Focus Blast does a lot. But Brave Bird is going to finish off the Alakazam. And Soulwind takes the early lead in the Black and White. Here's the Heatran follow-up. And here's the Gastrodon. Magma Storm gets him for 31% on the way in. Hurt by the Magma Storm. Yada yada. Sunny Day and Recover. So Magma Storms now, or whatever other fire move, going to do more. And he's going to go for Solar Beam there. That's a cute little set for Malekith. Going to get him with the Solar Beam. That is a cute, techie little move there. There is the knockout, and it's going to bring us to a 5-5 situation. Soulwind obviously doesn't like that sun. He's going to remove it via the Sandstorm from T-Tar. And a couple switches later, we've got Rocks up, and we've got Lando on Scarm. Gliscor, and it's going to be Stone Edge. He's going to play it aggressively, but unfortunately, he's going to miss that. Here's Ferrothorn, and that's going to come into an Earthquake, 25%, not that exciting. He'll have his chance to set up his own hazards, but instead he's going to keep it aggressive and go for Power Whip. Unfortunately, that's only going to do 7%, and he misses an opportunity to get hazards up. Spikes come down for Soulwind. He's got the big hazard advantage right now with both Spikes and Rocks, as opposed to nothing from Malekith. And he's going to go for Magma Storm yet again, hitting Gliscor for a nice chunk at 57%. But obviously he's afraid of Earthquake, and he gets out of the way. Lando comes in for Intimidate. It's a Whiff Protect from Soulwind. He can go for it again on this turn if he'd like. And here comes Jellicent. On once again a Whiffed Protect, but the Gliscor is getting itself pretty healthy here with that spiffy Poison Heal, and now obviously Protect is going to come down. He's going to let it happen at some point, and Gliscor gets itself back up to 87%. Nightshade, Earthquake, that's going to do 20 and 28, the Nightshade being the one that does more. Knockoff comes down, no more lefties for the Jelly. It does still have Recover, however, and that's going to get him pretty healthy. There's Protect, and it's going to be Taunt, which is protected against. So Gliscor pretty handily winning this 1v1 situation. Riunculus going to come in at this point. Nightshade, 23% to that. He's A-okay. Gliscor comes back. Nightshade again. Malekith not really getting much of anywhere with this. And he's going to switch to Lando at this point for the Intimidate. And it's going to be a Whiffed Earthquake for Soulwind. Would have been cool if he had gotten a knockoff off there, but he was not able to make that prediction. U-turn is protected against. And it's U-turn again. Back to the Jelly. Doesn't want to get anything else knocked off. And it is Earthquake for 21%. Jelly down to 24. Going to have to recover here. And Soulwind knows that, takes the opportunity to go to Riunculus. So after an initially relatively fast early game, we have kind of stalled out here. No more knockouts, no more action. A bit of defensive maneuvering from both guys. Malekith does find the opportunity to get hazards down for himself. Now they both have Rocks, and of course the Spikes are still beneath Malekith's team as well. Here is the Whirlwind from Scarm, dragging out the Lando. Intimidate here on a Pokemon that we know as Brave Bird. Stone Edge, and Spike Slayer number 2. So Soulwind accumulating hazards on the other side. Here's another Stone Edge. He's hit with the past couple of them, but he hasn't found the crit despite the increased chance to do so. And again Stone Edge, which does connect, but again no crit. There's Protect and Stone Edge. That would have connected, says the animation, but gets protected against. And this Stone Edge, not that it does a lot against Gliscor, does miss. And Gliscor just goes for Rocks. I don't know if that was a misclick or just, you know what, I don't have anything better to do. Let's kill a PP. Not clear. Either way, the Earthquake happens on Jelly. It gets really low. Actually, I believe Jelly's dead now because he's at 5%. He's going to die next time he comes in on those hazards. So we do have ourselves a 5-5, air quotes, but it's basically 5-4 favoring Soulwind. And like I said, he does have that big hazard advantage with the 2 spikes in addition to the rocks that they both have. We end up with tower on tower. Superpower. Malekith gets the advantage there by killing the opposing tower. So that brings us to a 5-4, which is essentially a 4-4. A lot of stuff on Malekith's team is banged up, though. The Jelly's going to die soon next time it comes in. The Lando's weak. The T-Tar is at about half. A lot of stuff not in great shape for Malekith, but he's fighting on. He tries to sneak T-Tar in on a switch, and he does get it on the Zam. I'm not sure if that's what he wanted or not, but he's going to get grass knotted down, bringing us to a 4-4. Heatran is going to be the answer here. Obviously doesn't want to get hit with a Focus Blast. Psychic does a lot, but not quite enough. However, the Magma Storm is going to miss. Psychic again, still not enough, but Magma Storm misses for a second time for Malekith. And now Psychic will be enough. So we now have ourselves a 4-3, which is basically a 4-2. Malekith is on the edge of the cliff. Soulwind looking to give him the push off. Skarn will survive the U-turn handily. It does only 5%. Malekith takes the opportunity to fodder off his jelly. Leaves us now in a 4-2. Lando down to 1% and needs to make something happen. Stone Edge does get him a kill. Now we are 2-3. Stone Edge there would need to nail the Alakazam really hard, and even then he probably hangs on with Sash. Psychic is going to get him on a miss, and now only Ferrothorn remains. That will not survive the Hidden Power Fire from Zam, and Soulwind is going to take it down. Malekith will take his first loss of the tournament. So unsurprisingly, Soulwind, the classic champion from this year, demonstrating that it is no fluke. He is clearly one of the very, very best old-gen players, well-rounded old-gen players in the world. He is going to be in the winner's bracket in the grand finals, and he is going to await the winner of whoever wins the next match that you guys haven't seen yet, and Malekith. We will cross that bridge when we come to it. Like I said, either way, both Soulwind and Malekith will make money in this tournament. The question is who wins the whole thing and wins more money, but we're going to deal with that a bit later. In the meantime, this is a longer series than I thought it would be. That Game 2 was really long and grindy. I hope you guys enjoyed it. There is yet another match of Permasand Invitational coming up next. Please, please, after all that, hit the like button.